All right, let's take you to this story now. A major accident has occurred on the M41 in Durban near La Lucia. A truck has rammed into cars, causing 16-vehicle pileup. Let's get an update from our senior reporter, Dasen Thathiah, who's still on the scene for us, and he joins us now live. Dasen, do we know how statistics look, if anyone died, for instance, how many injured, etc.?
Maseko, miraculously, if you just had to look at these vehicles, your initial reaction would be exactly that question of how many people passed away in this crash. And the good news at this point is that the reports we're getting from paramedics tell us that there have been no fatalities. The last time we touched base with eNCA 911, they said to us that there were 22 people that were injured. There was a pregnant woman that was airlifted as well. They were a bit concerned about the state of the baby that she was carrying. She was taken through to one of the hospitals for a check. We were told that there were also some other critical patients, but by and large, most of those that came out of these vehicles they sustained minor to serious injuries. Some people were lucky to come out with just a few scratches. And this happened, and I must stress this point, it happened in rush hour traffic. So it was the morning traffic. This area was very busy at that time, and most of these people were in a position where they couldn't really get out of the way because the traffic had backed up. It's just a two-lane road. It's got a slight gradient as it heads down towards the bottom of the road, and the truck had come from the direction that you are seeing now, so further up the road, and eventually ended up at the bottom. And just some way away from where I'm standing now, that's where the truck had toppled off to the side. You probably see down to the bottom of the road, there's a bend there, and that's where the truck had come to rest, and both the driver and the assistant, I'm told, had fled the scene.
And I'm sure, Dasen, when you arrived there was a lot of chaos, probably people trying to get out of their vehicles. Did you get the chance to speak to any survivor?
I did, Maseko. In fact, there was a miraculous story. I believe this is his vehicle just to the right of me. I just want to show it to you before I introduce that interview. This Hilux Bakkie that you're seeing upside down here, it's going to be taken away shortly now as part of this recovery. This was the vehicle that the gentleman was driving at the time, and he managed to get himself out. Let's listen to that conversation that I had with him earlier when he had just escaped from that vehicle.
We were all obviously going downhill, and then the only thing I heard was just the crash, and then I got hit at the back by I'm not sure which vehicle, and I think there was a heavy force that obviously pushed the bakkies much more, and then the next thing I know is that the back just picked up, and then I was on the roof and stuck in the van because of the seat belts, but managed to get myself loose and get out of the vehicle unhurt, unharmed, alhamdulillah. You know, by God's grace, yes. So that was it there.
Mr. Sheikh, you said on a normal day you would have been driving a much smaller vehicle.
Yes, that's for sure, yes.
When you got out, or when you managed to get yourself out, what did you see around you as you made your way out of the vehicle?
Basically just carnage of cars lying everywhere, and parts of vehicles just lying everywhere, and people screaming, all that kind of things. And there was a lot of people that obviously were running around trying to help whoever else. So I looked at myself first. I see I was fine. So I just grabbed whatever I needed from the van that was important, and then I started to help everybody else to try and get out of their vehicles, which was quite bad. There was a lot of people that was stuck in the vehicles and things like that, so we managed to get them out unharmed, but they were hurt quite badly, yes.
Did you get a look at the truck at all?
Not at all, nothing at all. By the time everything happened, I think he was already gone down the road. So no, we did not manage to see anything.
And Dasen, as I see there, the teams from, I assume, emergency personnel and even those owning tow trucks taking away these vehicles, what did they say when they gave you an update with regards to this accident?
Well, Maseko, most of them, I mean, these experienced people that we're talking about, say that they haven't seen anything like this in Durban in recent history. We're talking about 46 vehicles here, and if you include the truck, that's 47 cars. A number of patients over this stretch of road. They were absolutely shocked at the scale of the accident. and how and what they found when they got here. When you looked around earlier before this recovery process, there were a number of vehicles that were just lining up the sides here, ambulances that each managed to take a patient or two because there was that much going on. I spoke to Sean Herbst from Netcare 911 earlier. He elaborates a little bit more about that and the patient that they airlifted as well.
There were 6 patients that had sustained critical injuries when we arrived on scene. As you've seen from the visuals, multiple vehicles have been involved, including a truck and a couple of taxis. 6 of those patients that were involved had sustained critical injuries. We stabilized one of the patients, the most critically injured patient, which we summoned the helicopter. The helicopter then flew the patient through to a specialist medical facility for the treatment that she required.
Is there an indication at this point as to how many other patients there were?
Well, we've counted over 30 patients. A lot of the patients were transported privately before the arrival of emergency services.
What is the nature of some of the other injuries, besides the ones that were critical?
We've seen multiple fractures, we've seen suspected spinal injuries, head injuries, and just people absolutely shocked at what had happened.
And personally, Sean, have you seen in recent history anything as big as this?
No. I attended one in Johannesburg probably about 5 years ago, but it was nothing compared to this. This is by far the biggest. In my history of 30 years, I've never seen something this big.